Hello there. Before we get started, I wanted to quickly let you know that my upcoming book, Coffee for Here, is officially available for pre-order. I've been working on this for several years now. I am so excited for it to come out, and this is essentially the book that I wish I had when I started working as a barista. It is a handbook for making excellent coffee at home all the ways I know how. So everything from pour-over recipes to espresso to steaming milk to how to build your home coffee bar to even 40 signature beverage recipes ranging from super easy 2-ingredient drinks all the way up to barista championship drinks. All of those things are included in this book. I'm super excited for it to come out. I will have it linked down below, and thank you all so much for your support. Okay, let's get started. Okay, today we are looking at something kind of fun. I want to dive into a tool that helped a barista earn some of the highest scoring espressos ever at the 2025 World Barista Championship. Here's the agenda. We are going to talk about this tool. We are going to look at how it's made. We're going to talk about what it does, and then we're going to pull some espressos and see if it works. So, without further ado, let me go grab our tool. Now, this right here is known as the Better Vessel. It was an espresso tool that was developed by Michael Harris, who is a multi-time barista champion from the Philippines. And he premiered it and developed it for the 2025 World Barista Championship. Now, something you may not know is that at the World Barista Championship, during the first round, they publish live the espresso scores for all of the competitors. This is something new they have introduced and allows you to kind of engage with the competition in a little bit more of a live, like sports kind of style, which I really enjoy, because otherwise you just find out the scores afterwards and they don't really mean anything. But it was really fun to see this year because Michael Harris had the top espresso scores in that round, and he credited it to this tool right here. Let's start by looking at our components. The Better Vessel is made up of 3 different parts, so let's start at the top and work our way down. The first thing you'll see is this solid sphere. Now, hi everyone, real quick note here. In this video, I talk about using this sphere for extract chilling, which, similar to the Nucleus Paragon, involves putting this sphere into the freezer until it is cool and then pulling the shot of espresso directly on top of that, bringing our ready-made shot down to a more drinkable temperature quickly. Now, I didn't realize until after filming this video that this isn't actually something that Better Vessel recommends. However, I found a lot of success when doing it, so just wanted to make a note that this was something that I kind of picked up and intuitively did, but is not directly in the instructions. It also works as a plug and stopper in the main body of the vessel so that when you pull your espresso into it, it doesn't immediately fall out the bottom. Now that brings us to the main body of this. The main body of the Better Vessel is double walled, so you can pour hot liquids into it and hold it very comfortably. You'll notice on the inside it has that resting place for our chilling sphere. And then if you look at the bottom, you'll see the one component that is movable. And this is the piece that allows the espresso to be pulled into the cup as is, and then released into your final drinking vessel whenever you want. There's kind of this moving piece right here that when it is sitting on a flat surface, when it is just on its own, this area up here is fully sealed. However, if you then look at our third component down here, which you'll see has this kind of raised lip here, the idea is that you place this on top of whatever your final cup is, and then whenever you are ready to drink your espresso, you place the Better Vessel on top. That causes that little area to lift, which lifts the sphere, and your espresso can then pass through from the top down to your lower chamber. Now, that's a whole lot of what it does, but the question you might be asking is, why would we want to do any of that? Great question. Let's talk about that. Now, to explain why this does all the things it does, we need to talk about Crema. Now, if you aren't familiar with it, Crema is the lighter, fluffier layer on top of your espresso. Now, Crema is simply the emulsification of the fats and oils, tiny fines, and also CO2 bubbles that are created in your espresso when it is pulled under pressure. Sometimes Crema is referred to as an indicator of quality of coffee. I don't think that is very fair, because really what Crema is an indicator of freshness. More freshly roasted coffees that still have a higher concentration of CO2 will have more Crema, and coffees that are further off roast and have had time to degas will have less Crema. Crema on its own is pretty dang bitter. If you take a spoon and scoop off a little bit and taste it, you will find it is not very pleasant. Now, this is why we typically stir the Crema into our espressos, meaning that we have a fully homogenized flavor experience and all that bitterness is nice and evenly distributed. However, the question arises, what happens if you remove that crema? If you remove a lot of the bitterness and are left with something that is maybe a little bit sweeter and a little bit more acidic? That is where we come back to the better vessel. What happens if we remove the crema indeed? Now, instead of continuing to just talk about this and gesture wildly with my hands, I think it's time to pull some espresso. So let me go grind our coffee and let's get started.
I drink a lot of coffee, which means that I'm always looking to try something new. But even for me, figuring out what bag to buy next can get a little bit overwhelming. Having a regular routine where I know that I'll always have interesting selections arriving on schedule is a huge help, which is what I really like about Trade. They work with more than 55 incredible roasters across the country and curate a wide range of coffees. But instead of leaving you to sort through all of them yourself, they actually help you narrow things down based on what you like. You can take their quick quiz, tell them how you brew and what flavors you gravitate towards. Then they'll match you with the coffees that best fit your taste. And because every bag is roasted to order, it shows up fresh at your door at the cadence that works best for you. It's a really easy way to discover new coffees and roasters without just buying the same bag every time. And right now, Trade is offering a discovery trial where you can get 3 bags from 3 different roasters with your first bag for free at drinktrade.com/MDC. That's drinktrade.com/MDC to get started on a discovery trial, or you can always click the top link in the description.
All right, I'm prepping my shot over here, and my plan is to split our double shot. So I'm gonna pull one half of it into the better vessel, and then I'll pull the other half into a glass cup so we can do a little compare and contrast. All right. We have some espresso. Before we do any tasting or transferring of our better vessel shot, I'm gonna allow both of our shots to sit for about 15 to 20 seconds. This is gonna allow that crema to really fully separate from the body of the shot, which is gonna make it easier to separate once we place this on our final vessel. You'll notice, nicely, no spills. This is basically just acting as a cup right now. All right, I've got our final vessel here. I have our little stand placed here, so let's make the transfer. And in just about 5 to 7 seconds, we have our new, very different looking shot of espresso. Now it is very funny seeing a true shot of espresso that doesn't have any crema on it, because the mind doesn't really know what to do with it. This looks like coffee that was either brewed at a very high concentration or maybe even out of a mocha pot. Now I'm gonna start with our regular shot. So I'm gonna just stir in our crema like I usually would. Again, this is a just split shot of espresso, so this is the exact same extraction on both sides. Crema shot. Now I know this coffee super well. This is kind of my standard espresso blend that I keep in the studio. It's very chocolatey. It has really nice dried fruit notes to it. A little bit of citric acidity kind of in the orange category. It's very pleasant, it's very drinkable. Now let's try our better vessel shot. Now, interestingly enough, one of the primary things I notice as unfortunately, a self-proclaimed texture person is the change in mouthfeel here. I find that this espresso has a much silkier, rounded feeling to it. One of my kind of hypotheses prior to going into this is I expected with the removal of that texture and crema off the top that we would end up with something that felt maybe a little bit more thin, a little bit more watery. That is not the case with this coffee. This still feels very round and very lush against the palate. Flavor-wise, you do get a lot more prominent fruit notes coming out in this coffee. Again, this is an espresso blend. I would consider it to be a true medium in terms of roast level, but this feels a lot more expressive versus this, which sits a little bit more on the milk to dark chocolate scale. Both of these shots are super tasty, but side by side, they're very different in ways that I personally wasn't expecting. This is genuinely some of my first times ever pulling shots on the better vessel, and there's more difference in the texture than I was expecting. I think a component of that is definitely that we are chilling this shot as well and pulling it over a sphere. Anecdotally, my experience with any sort of chilling spheres is that they tend to round out and lushify. I keep using the word lush, but that's what comes to mind. They lushify the texture a bit more than if you had just a straight hot shot. And then that is also enhanced by the fact that you are cooling down the shot, making it a little bit more easy for your palate to discern the different notes and textures within it. Oh no. Oh no. I've created so many spills. Oh dear. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm dripping everywhere. I'll be right back. All right, place it on top. Allow for a full separation. All right, and then I'm gonna just put this entire contraption on a separate cup just to make sure we don't have any future spilling. Now, one of the questions I imagine you might be wondering about is why we can't simply scrape the crema off the surface of our shot and totally just bypass the better vessel. The answer is you totally could. If you have a chilling sphere, you could completely pull a shot of espresso and then simply use maybe 2 spoons and kind of scrape off the surface, scoop it off, set it somewhere else, and have something that would be very, very similar to what we have extracted here. The better vessel is definitely a product of barista competitions and the sort of time constraints and also technical constraints that are placed on competitors. Something you might not know is that in barista competitions, there are still crema points. And to get your crema points, you must show the judges shots of espresso that have completely undisturbed solid crema on top, meaning there are no holes and you can't see down to the bottom of your shot. Meaning it is very advantageous to pull your shots into the better vessel where that crema is undisturbed, show them to the judges, and then place it and remove the crema. That kind of like hits 2 birds with 1 stone. You get all your points and you still get this more like luscious espresso experience. Additionally, you probably don't want to be standing in front of the judges scraping their espressos because you are on a time limit and you need to serve 12 drinks in 15 minutes. Now, I think my favorite part that I've experienced today is with the restriction of really being able to pull a single shot into the better vessel. It has forced me to taste this espresso side by side in 2 different forms. And I think that novelty of that experience is pretty cool because even though these are the same coffee, the same extraction, they are a very different both tactile and also flavor experience. Now, with that being said, I think there are probably a large amount of coffee drinkers who won't prefer this style of shot. This does not read to me as a very traditional espresso. This texturally and also flavor-wise leans a lot more towards fruit juice, which is something that I really enjoy in coffee. I like those sort of like round, sweet, bright qualities in coffee. But if you are someone who knows that you prefer a more classic shot and also a more classic texture, you're probably still going to prefer this, and that is totally okay. Because this is a small, specialized tool that is made in limited quantities right now, it is a tool that has like a pretty hefty price tag to it for what it is. And I imagine at some point it will probably go down, but I wouldn't say that this is something you need to add to your arsenal unless you are really looking for the full convenience factor. Because this really, if you were looking to extract, chill, and also remove the crema off of your espresso, this does a fantastic job. It does it quickly and it does it efficiently. However, if you want to extract, chill, and then scrape with a spoon, you could still have this experience. I think something I would also be looking forward to in terms of any future editions of the better vessel, if they go into a larger form production, is possibly a bigger size. I think being able to do a full double shot into one of these would be awesome, would be so fantastic. And I think also, I imagine as production ramps up, you might even see improved build quality. One of the things that I had to like slightly fix when this arrived is this lower base part, which is a 3D printed component. One of these little stands right here had cracked, and even though I was able to kind of like leverage it back into its original position, originally it had been leaning slightly, which then when placed on the cup led this to wobble a bit, and so I had to find where that break was and then fix it myself. Again, that was an easy fix, wasn't a big problem, but I think with maybe even a metal or some sort of like higher build quality component, this could feel a lot more stable on the cup. There are so many fun specialized coffee tools out there. You don't need any of them to make delicious coffee, but sometimes they can be a fun way to experience coffee differently. So regardless, leave thoughts in the comments. Now, I'm gonna go finish the rest of my shot. I'm very excited to drink this. In the meantime, I will have my book linked below if y'all are interested in checking that out. This was fun to talk about today, and I'll see you all next time. My name is Morgan. You can find me here on YouTube once a week plus shorts, or on Instagram or TikTok almost every single day. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.